Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage. So as you can see behind me outside, it is dark out. We're getting another late start due to work and whatnot. But anyhow, quick summary of where we're at. Last video, we got all the valves adjusted, the rockers in, fuel lines and fuel rail in, the whole driver's side intake tract in, meaning the grid heater, the intake manifold, and the intercooler pipe. So we have to put our rocker box, I guess lower rocker box it is, or upper valve, lower valve cover, whatever you call it, doesn't matter. That, our injector wiring harness, we'll put our valve cover on, which will just set on there for now, just to keep any oil splatter from getting all over the place, because we will be doing a hot retorque. And when we do that hot retorque, I'm just going to fill the radiator with water, so that way we can try and flush the cooling system a little bit. Get our upper radiator hose on, our alternator, our turbo, all that kind of good jazz, our coolant bypass hooked back up, our belt on. We're not going to put the fan in right yet. So that's kind of the game plan. Just get all the rest of the gingerbread stuff done on Caitlyn so we can get her back on the road, get our hot retorque done and all that. Before we get started, we'll just go over a couple things real quick. So this is the upper rocker box, or lower rocker box, or lower valve cover, whatever it's called. This spacer plate that goes on top of the head. As you can see here, here's what it looks like from the factory. This is the one off of our industrial engine. As you can see, it comes off at an angle there. When you put head studs in your truck, you will actually have to modify that like this is, and we had done previously on Caitlyn. You have to modify it like that so it'll fit around the head stud, around the I guess it's the nut head. I believe the bolt head normally sits under here when you still have the factory head bolts in it, so that'll have to be adjusted. And when we go to install our injector wiring harness, we're going to be very careful with these nuts. It is a very low inch-pound measurement. Basically, we want them snug, because if we snap one of these studs off of the top of an injector, we just bought an injector. So that's kind of the game plan. Let's get to it. So I currently have some of the coolant draining using the tube that goes to the overflow tank. All I did was pull it off the radiator here and drop it down there and set it against the frame. So we're draining some of that. Hopefully we get all of that out. You know, with the vacuum it should get it pretty good, I hope. But our radiator hose is in, the grid heater wiring, all our wiring's bolted up. The coolant is, no, it's still flowing. Okay. Belts on. The turbo is in, other than the compressor housing and the intercooler pipe. The oil feed, the oil drains hooked up, the downpipe is hooked up. I actually had a little trouble getting the center section into the exhaust housing. I had to sand it. There was a little bit of soot on either side built up, so I sanded that all so it went in nicer. Still have to hook up my EGT probe and just double check everything. I will have to make this bracket here for this coolant pipe to there, but it is pretty sturdy, so we're probably okay for running it. Tonight, I would just like to get the truck started, make sure it runs, so we're still going to have to put oil in it. I did put a new oil filter on it, which is just a Mopar filter. Yeah, so when we go to drive it, I might just steal the bracket off of the race truck, which I might even just take that off tonight so I can maybe make one tomorrow. But that's where we're at, and looks as though our coolant flow has stopped. And yeah, so that did drain our coolant expansion tank out almost completely, so that's good. That was nice and easy. But yeah, so it's actually pretty cold here, so I'm not going to put any water in the truck. I just want to get it started. So we'll just get the oil in it. We'll fire it up. I'll actually probably pour some oil on all the rockers that I can at least get to. Try and get some back there on 5 and 6. Just to get everything lubricated before we start the truck. But we'll get the oil in there. Give it a minute to get, you know, down in the engine. And hook the batteries up. And maybe we'll get this thing fired tonight. I think we're ready. I got both batteries hooked up and nothing blew up. Belts on, radiators hooked up, no coolant, but we're only going to start the truck. Fuel lines are all hooked up, everything's tight, all the banjo bolts, exhaust manifold, turbo's in except for the compressor housing, which isn't going to hurt nothing, and the intercooler piping. All our wires are out of the way. What are these two? Let's all delete shit. Oh, there we go. We gotta hook up our wiring for our intake manifold here. That guy up. Alright. So that's hooked up. The only other wiring we don't have hooked up is the one for our fan and the two that go on the intake thing here. So we will get some lights. That's not a big deal. Everything else looks good. Nothing in the way of the belt. Oh, I did just throw the valve cover on there because pouring that oil on there a lot was sitting on the rockers. So rather than making a huge mess, we'll just leave that on there for right this second. But I think we're ready to try and start it. I'll turn the key on and off a couple times, get the air dog primed up, or fast on this truck. Get the fast to prime the fuel system up to here. I will check the low pressure side of things, make sure we're good, and move on from there. I almost forgot something very important. This wiring harness right here. I almost forgot this bad boy. Now where is it? Where did I get that? Where's that tucked down at? Here it is. Alright. The truck won't start without this guy. Alright. There we go. Alright, now we should be good. we had success. It did take a little bit for the truck to start up. So I did check the codes, which we had barometric pressure, mass air, blah, 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 which are these ones right here, which weren't surprising, but we did have one that was a surprise. There's one for high fuel rail pressure, and if you guys look, you probably can't see it. I think I forgot to hook up the fuel rail pressure sensor, which, let's see here. Yep, I forgot to hook that up, son of a bitch. Let's try that again. Alright, let's try this again. You know what, I'm gonna hook this up right here, just see what happens. Well, success. So with plugging the intake in here, and of course the rail pressure sensor that we forgot, the only codes we had were for the crankcase pressure being low, which we don't have that hooked up because this is going to be coming right off, and the fan, of course. So everything's looking good for our little cold start. Very happy, very happy. So guys, it's looking good for tomorrow night to hopefully drive the truck and get it out on the road. So the plan for tomorrow is to fill the radiator with water. We'll get the truck warmed up, have the heater on, just try and clean out the coolant system, and then we'll do our hot retorque on our head studs, just double verify them, and then we will put our injector wire harness back in, triple check our valve lash, get everything buttoned up, and hopefully take her out for a test spin and put fresh coolant in it, and it's going to be nice to have my truck back, that's for sure. This is definitely taking way longer than it should have, but it is what it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you're excited to see Caitlyn out driving again as much as I am. So if you did like the video, please like it with a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Get out in your garage. Get the wrenching on your truck.